Jigar Thanda. Jigar Thanda. That's what we're going to talk about today. Jigar Thanda is a movie that's a talk of the town. That's the latest commercial flick from Karthik Subbaraj, and it's doing amazing well. Both when it comes to critical acclaim and also audience response. And the teaser itself was quite a catchy one and did build up the expectation levels. And Jigar Thanda, the original movie, the setting for that movie happens to be the state of, or the town of Madurai. And many of us would recognize this town for its temples, right? This is another movie that is really kind of is nailing its name into the Hall of Fame of movie industry, right? So, really good, very good experience. Anybody who loves cinema will enjoy this movie. Anybody and everybody. So I was very happy sitting through the audiovisual kick and the uplifting scenes and the emotional scenes and the humor and everything. With the mass elements, the class elements, the art elements, whatever you want to call it. So very happy to sit through it, right? So performances, So generally, when it comes to artistic skills or acting skills, commercial movies are looked down upon, and they generally are thought of as, okay, you just want to please the audience, so you want to do that extra, the exaggerated thing, and you get the claps, you get the applause, the whistles and stuff like that. So it's not something that is expected off of a commercial flick. But I had subscribed to such views in my younger days, but I think probably I was mistaken, because again, there are a lot of amazing artistic or real acting moments in commercial movies. And in art cinema, parallel movie, indie movie, or whatever you want to call it, there are a lot of stupid scenarios, settings, and unreal stuff that's being promoted as art and realistic stuff. Okay? So that kind of cancels out. If you ask me, this movie has quite a lot of these artistic, emotional moments where the actors have portrayed emotions that fits those scenes in a very subtle manner. These are commercial, yes, but the way that they kind of emote are really good. All those scenes that I remember immediately, two of those, one is one by S.J. Suryah and the other Raghava Lawrence. It's just Suryah. There are in fact a few scenes that are placed nearby, where he starts to see the gangster's life and his roots and his people and the way that they're being exploited, tortured, harassed, and he goes around without a conversation, but as and when things happen around him, there is a scene, or there are at least a few scenes, where S.J. Suryah he kind of soaks in what's happening around him, and he emotes with just a hint of a tear or hint of sadness in his eyes, and and these are not scenes where you have real close-up and you kind of boost up the emotion. No, it's shown in the frame, so maybe centrally, but more than that, the fleeting emotions that pass through his eyes and his face, they kind of evoke a very good, very deep, connect. So that's artistic or acting success, if you ask me. There is something parallel that, something very similar that Alia Caesar or Raghava Lawrence, the Don, does in a similar setting. Again, he understands the plight of his people that he had abandoned to become a gangster, and because of a misunderstanding, or probably because of his, the teenage energy, a youthful, impulsive thought, he kind of took a different path, and he becomes a Don. But then, there is a storyline which brings him back into his roots, and the way that he connects to people over there. I mean, the director has made sure that it's always light. The way that he moves around with his people, it's never shown as an intense, digging deep into the history, not like that. He moves around and understands the plight of the people. And again, just like how Surya emoted, Raghava Lawrence, has the scene where, again, nothing is spoken, but then the way that he looks and connects to his roots, that is good acting. It's really good acting. And talking about emotional scenes, Karthik, I really have to tell you that you brought in this kind of freshness to the narrative and to the climax towards the end of the movie part, where it is a very strong, very emotional scene where you end up tearing up. Yeah. And traditionally, most of us males have grown up with the thought that you shouldn't be showing your tears. And of course, the world has moved beyond that, and it's okay for men to cry. But then, individually, fighting that when you're in a social setting, exposing yourself is a challenge. But I'm growing out of it and feeling okay with the tears rolling down my cheeks and just sitting through it. I don't even wipe them. I let them just dry, and I'm okay. And if I walk out, somebody sees the channels of the dried tears on my face. Okay, they might judge me for a second. So what? I just enjoy the movie, just walk off. So that, talking about the climax scene, that was an amazing piece of work and piece of art, and I really have to thank you for that, because unlike commercial narratives where you have expected, outcomes when the hero intervenes, this movie ends with a win, but not the way that we would want it or expect it to. Yeah, it is a win. Yeah, in fact, there is one character which almost predicts it. This is oracle kind of character that kind of tells that hey, yeah, it's going to happen. Whatever you come here is going to happen, but not the way that you intended it to, is what she says. And that just what passes off as a minor scene, but that is how it plays out as and when the story proceeds. What should happen will happen, but not the way that we want it to. And Karthik has done a good job in writing that script too. So again, a lot of I'd say thanks, and really have to be commended for his extraordinary effort to kind of blend all of these things together, because the story is full of layers. All right, the story is full of layers. Okay, you can say there are at least 4 to 5 layers that run. One, it is the individual angle of the hero, or the protagonist, who kind of he has his own story. Politicians, who use these people as pawns, and he's a convict, by the way, and use these convicts as pawns and make them work like mercenaries for their own benefit. So you have the story of the government, and how the government and the mafia or the underworld works. You have the story of the Don, or the bad guy, the supposedly bad guy, where he's a Don and he has his own story to it, and he's got his roots in a different land, far off land, and that is his personal story. And there is the way that Karthik makes sure that it's reconnected as the story proceeds. He reconnects to that. That part is there, and then you have the government, the superstructure that kind of plays with all these actors, small politicians, gangsters, police, cops, right? And how they abuse and exploit the indigenous people of the land for their own benefit. And there are cultural references to certain characters that many international global viewers or people who are not familiar with the politics of this country will not be able to relate to, but generally it will. Like for example, the character Satani, who is a poacher, right? He's a poacher with a deep sense of the forest, and he senses things like he knows what's coming, which animal is coming his way, or what moves where, kind of thing. That was inspired by a real person called Veerappan. What people who do not know the story, that's for you. And just shaving off the cultural references, all of us would understand. Everybody will understand what's happening there. Okay, So, okay. So, okay, I have mentioned music earlier, and I really have to say more about it. Santhosh Narayanan is my favorite musician now, and not just after this movie. He's been my favorite young musician, in the industry. And when I say industry, I'm not restricting it to just Tamil movies. Industry per se, whether it's you talk Indian movie industry or global, international movie industry, Santhosh Narayanan is the talent to look out for. And he comes out of the sounds from all across the globe. He's so in sync and in touch with the latest in music. And if you look at the hits that is given in the southern industry, and like for example Kala, Kabali, Kodi, Variyerim Perumal, these are all movies where his songs and Pizza, Pizza was one of his works that I was really kind of thrilled to listen to, the freshness of the sounds that he had then. But again, that Santhosh Narayanan is a discussion for a later video. I'll definitely talk about that. That's on the cards. So he's done an amazing job with the music in this movie. It's so kind of fresh, yet so, I would say, connecting to the mass expectation that a typical South Indian or typical Indian movie goer has. So when you're going to watch a gangster movie and the gangster is introduced through a fight scene or some sort of stylish scene, the way that that's projected, people want it to have that mass feel, and they're kind of so used to it across scores and hundreds of movies that you always expect it to happen in a particular way. It happened to happen in a particular way. But here, Santhosh comes out with such fresh music, and the way that alias Caesar is introduced, the way that he comes in through the fog, through the smoke, and the plucking of the guitar strings in that scene. And there's also a remarkable scene where I think it's a chasing scene, or maybe tracking Chattani, one of those scenes where I remember, the plucking sound is so intense and so sharp, it literally kind of, makes you feel, uneasy. We're talking about that sudden, jarring sound. And okay, it has a rhythm, and the sound's going to come back. So I know that it's following the rhythm, and I know the sound's going to come back. So I'm prepared for that jolt. But when it happens again, you still get that same kind of tingle or a jolt. And that is some choice of what instrumentation that Santhosh has done. And again, beautiful the way that he's mixed the tribal sounds, western sounds, and typical Indian movie mass sounds, the Ghana sound, the Dapanguttu Ghana kind of songs that he's made, Mamadurre. That's such a catchy number. And Raghava, Lawrence has done a great job. His moves are kind of subtle, not too kind of on your face, those thrusting kind of moves, kind of subtle, soft, where he has to make it enjoyable. At the same time, he should not look like a clown because he has his gangster image, right? So that was done really well. Santhosh, great job. But my last point for you is regarding something that's a little point to note for Karthik. And the reference that I'm talking about is about the word Kattuvasi that is being used in that movie to refer to these people. Now, of course, this is something, this terminology is used throughout the movie. So when I think of it, I think Karthik should have been a little more aware of it. But you can always say that that's the artistic liberty or the creative liberty that he has, and okay, I may have to agree with that. But the reason I'm saying this is that Karthik had claimed that this is the strongest political movie that he's made so far, or probably his first strong political movie. Being a movie like that, and when somebody like that is trying to make the right sounds in the political narrative, he or she should have been aware of that. Kattuvasi is a term that is literally translated as forest dweller. This is a terminology that has been, and I think it's still doing some rounds of discussion in the political circles regarding whether that is the appropriate term for that. Now, for international viewers, you might not connect to this. The way that I'd like to kind of put it is this way. You know what? When you use that term, you're referring to them as forest dwellers. Now, that is, to give an analogy, that is almost like calling Native Americans canyon dwellers, or Rocky Mountain dwellers, or I don't know, open land dwellers, or whatever, which they are not. Yeah, they are indigenous people, and they are the people of the land. Right. So the term that is promoted as probably the better choice is indigenous. In this case, in India, the word is Adivasi, which translates as original inhabitants, aka indigenous people. So again, as I said, there's no way spoils the effort or the creativity or the genius element that what Karthik has put in. But having admitted to making a political movie, I wish he was more aware of this, or at least if he were to come across this review or continuing discussions regarding his movie, I'm hoping that he would take note of such things. Okay, that is that. Otherwise, for everybody, what I have to tell you is, wherever you are in the world, take out your laptop, book a ticket for this movie. If it is running in a theater, in a movie hall next to you, book a ticket, get out of your fucking chair and go to the theater and watch this movie. It's worth it. If you end up buying tickets for 5 of your friends, it's worth that too. Alright? So your friends will thank you for that. Okay? So go ahead, watch this movie, anybody and everybody. It is a study in script writing, in screenplay, in how music can be used to kind of uplift a movie. A lot of cinematic elements. Okay, it's a case study in that. For anybody who wants to know how modern movies are evolving, here you are. Again, big fan of Tamil movies, and I'm happy that that's one of the industries that's really leading the show in the Indian diaspora, and if you ask me, in the international diaspora too. Yeah, I gotta be telling this, I forgot to mention this, I should have started with this. Shout out to Rick and Corbin of Our Stupid Reactions. They've been doing a great job of, exposing us in a good way, Indian movies to the rest of the world, US in particular. And when I say Indian movies, I would especially mention South Indian movies. Again, Tamil movies, mostly. But the reason I say this is that Indian movies are known as Bollywood movies, or Indian movies are equated with Bollywood movies across the globe. I think that's changing, and you guys are to be thanked for that. Not just you, there are quite a few of them. There's somebody called Dad's Den, there's you, and a few others. It's catching up across the globe because it's such a big market. And you guys are doing a great job. But I'll keep on sharing my views as and when I come across such good ones, or even bad ones. Okay? If you like the video, please do add a thumbs up, subscribe, share, add your comments, add your thoughts in the comments below, and we'll meet you in the next video. Okay? Until we meet again, it's bye from south of Cosmos. Right? Bye. Peace.